2, 1, roll. Okay.
The aristocrats.
What?
I was trying to make it sound like it's another embarrassing moment, like
Okay.
joke or something before you
Sorry.
began the podcast.
Okay. Anyway, let me start. So welcome to the Roll Off a Tangent podcast, guys. Today we have not really a new guest. She joined us in our last recording. The problem was that there was some terrible sound recorded, and that's all my fault. And Kaz is crying. So for the audience, this is the first time you have talked to Kaz. You're listening to Kaz, and why don't we start with a self-introduction like we did the last time, Kaz? Yeah, you're gonna
Okay,
have to do it all over again.
all over again. Hi, everybody. I'm Kaz Augustin. You can call me Kaz. I grew up on space opera. I love writing space opera. And I've been writing for a little while. What else can I say? I loved teddy bears as a child and hated dolls. There we go. I think that's how I ended last time. Yeah, guys? So let me end like that now as well.
Okay, cool.
That you write, like you've published and stuff. You might want to plug your book if you want. I don't know.
Oh, okay. Well, that's okay. I mean,
Killer
people know
teddy
they
bears
can
from
find me.
space. That's your
Teddy bears from they would be the best. Teddy bears from space.
Okay. Cool. Do you want to just talk about your book? I think that would be a great idea.
Okay. Well, I've written a number of space opera books as well as urban fantasy book, which is 5 books in one, as well as some nonfiction as well. And I was also editor of the Sci-Fi Romance Quarterly at one point. So I've won a few awards for some books and stories that I've written. But it's been a while since I picked up a pen recently. But with this illustrious company, I hope that all 3 of you will encourage me to do so again. So I'm very, very happy to be here.
I don't know about illustrious company because you sound like the most experienced writer out of all of us. But since you asked, you can take the next challenge.
Oh, thank you so much.
Don't worry, Kaz. I'll be on the deciding committee of the blurb. You're not gonna get punished like I did.
Okay. Well, yeah, I presume that depends on how today's podcast goes, Niki.
However, when XJ and Rob will go, their hell has no fury.
Okay, sure.
That's right.
Whatever. As they say in French, that's life.
C'est la vie. C'est la vie.
I'm actually really sorry that last week's kind of that last podcast went down the drain a little bit because I thought we had a terrific discussion.
It was good. I was trying to find a point to end, really, and that's always a sign of a good and lively discussion.
So what a shame, technology.
Yes.
For those of you conspiracy theorists, it was just a book we couldn't talk about.
Yeah, I was going to say that. Yes, yeah.
But you shall not know.
Rob, you were a traitor just like me.
Okay. Before I forget, one thing that we will do is we will in the description in the link to this video. What am I saying? In the description of the video, we will put in the titles of Kaz, the works she wrote, just so people can check it out. Okay. So today, we're going to talk about the challenge that Niki has worked on. The desiccated is wrong. It is the delegators.
Delegators.
It's called
Delegators.
The delegators, not the desiccated. Okay.
The Delegators would be quite a good idea, but it's not the one we did.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? That's true. You're right. Thank you
Okay.
so much, Robert.
Okay.
Zinger, Rob.
Anyway, I'm gonna let me hand it off to Rob to
Yeah.
talk about how we decided on the blurb and the challenge.
Well, it's mostly my fault in that I was interested in old ideas to do with the lost continent of Mu in the Pacific, and I thought, let's get Niki to write a lost civilization sort of story in which the moon is falling to the earth, and the sorcerers of Mu and the scientists of Mu are both trying to stop it happening. And the reason I thought of that was because there are some legends that our moon was once, well, not our own, but we've had a succession of moons, and they've got closer and closer to the Earth, and then they've blown up. A completely mad, stupid, unrealistic idea. But there you go. These occult ideas are often completely impossible. Colin Wilson, for example, in some of his science fiction, goes on about these successive moons. Anyway, Niki, well, first of all, XJ insisted on paring down my specification till just a single sentence because he thought that there was too much detail. I thought I was making it easy for Niki to show him how the thing hung together, but XJ wasn't having any of this, and he ruthlessly insisted on cutting it down to a single sentence, well, being polite about it, of course. So it was just a single sentence, and Niki therefore went ahead and did something completely different from what I was envisaging. The moon, in his case, being the moon of some interstellar planet, has nothing to do with the Earth, although the Earth is involved in the sense that the Delegators, the people who are trying to resolve the situation, come from Earth. So anyway, I rather like the story, actually, despite it being nothing to do with what I was trying to get him to write. So I'll hand the floor, if that's the word. I'll concede the floor to somebody else now.
Okay, that's a great intro. For my part, I thought it would give Niki a more breadth, less constraints if the blurb was just like really vague and he can take it to whatever direction that he wants. I think that worked out great because the story was completely unexpected for me. Yeah. So let's do you read the story, right, Kaz? Tell
Oh
us
yeah,
what you
for
think.
sure. Both versions.
Both versions. Mm-hmm.
Well, one
Never conspiracy theory.
Hold on, you're frozen on my screen, actually.
Am I?
Oh, that's better. Yes. Okay, here we go. Okay, so 6 pages. Before I begin, how many words was that, actually? Niki, did you do a word count on your story?
Yeah, 2,603 at the end, plus minus.
Yeah, actually, because you packed a lot into that 2,600 words, I thought. I loved the laughing gentleman of the mage ascendancy. Oh, that just, yes, I just love that. And I was going to say that I did have a few notes I wrote on your story, but
You're gonna get Scoot, Niki. You are so Scoot that you're frozen.
Yeah,
I'm just destroyed.
Yeah, that must be it. So that and the Technomancer Supreme Collective. What I really liked was the sense of humor that was in the story, because I find that so many stories of this ilk, which has the moon about to crash into the planet, they tend to err on the side of heavy drama. And I really like that you managed to keep it, a little bit light and, to use a pun, in some places, quite bubbly. So I appreciated the fact that you took a topic like that and that you created something that was a little bit more, a little bit lighter, that had a different perspective. Because if not, it would tend to get a little bit, I think, Dr. Strangelove, but without the humor. So I really appreciated that about the story. And I liked the fact that it wasn't obviously, an American clone or something like that. I really did like that as well. So I really enjoyed the book. It's difficult to write, the story. It's really difficult to write first person. And you did a pretty tight first person, which because the tendency to use the word you and break through, right, the wall to the reader is sometimes overwhelming, and you manage to avoid that trap, which a lot of other writers fall into. So good on you. That would be what I would say. Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna echo the humor part. It was completely unexpected for me, given the gravitas of the blurb. Am I right, Kaz? It's like moon falling to the earth, and I think like the first instinct that most people would have would be, this is
Oh dear.
serious stuff. Oh dear.
Yeah,
Oh,
right.
shit. Yeah.
Exactly. Heavy drama. Yeah. Heavy drama.
Yeah, and so the complete twisting of that subversion, I would say, of that expectation was quite astute direction to take, I think. And of course, that's not the only subversion throughout the whole story. There are a lot of I would say twists along the story as well. Like I was expecting the narrator to be a little bit more grown up, shall we say. I was not at all expecting a kid to be attending a council whereby a bunch of people were deciding the fate of their planet. Neither was I expecting that let's not giving the end of the story away, but that a third party could be involved in the whole.
That was nice. Yes, exactly. Nice twist.
Yeah. So all in all, I thought I agree with Kaz. There's a lot packed into 2005. That 2,500 words. That's quite a bit of background building done in a short amount of time that is expressed through a very limited word count, I would say. So my verdict: good read, good job. Yes. Rob, do you have something scathing for us?
Not scathing exactly. I think that Niki took tremendous risks in the way he wrote this story. I think the fact that there's a child being involved in these decisions is actually a very macabre touch. I agree about the humour, but presumably the meaning behind it is that these delegators somewhere in the fourth millennium, I think it is, have an enormous and irresponsible degree of power, and the frightening implications of this are that you can get people treating the whole business of intervention in a frivolous sort of way because they got so much power they don't know what to do with it, really. That's how it seems to me. And I would strongly urge that if if Niki exploits this very open-ended theme, which is more or less begging to be treated in loads of more stories about loads of more interventions by loads of more people on loads of more planets, there should be a wide variety in treatments to show that you can just about anything can happen in this kind of scenario, and you might get people treating it very, very seriously, and there perhaps being less humor in the story, but more awe and wonder, if you like. In fact, Niki, you've got yourself an amazing goldmine of a theme here. It's a bit like it's like XJ's goldmine in his future solar system scenario with the Longtail saga. Is very, very exploitable, and if I may just make an extra point, I know you're perhaps not supposed to make more than one point in one spiel, but here goes.
Make as many points as you want. Rob.
There's one more point I want to make, and that is as regards tone. If you're writing in the far future, there's a problem of tone in that anything too much to do with the present is going to strike the wrong note. Now, I think in XJ's case, the wrong note is struck in a very small point by the use of the metric system. Mention of distances in kilometers just makes me wince when talking about far future Mars or Venus or Earth or whatever, because kilometers is such a boring, prosaic French revolutionary term.
You hear that, Franz? You hear that? It's boring. Boring.
Yeah, take
English.
that, Franz. Take
He's
that.
British. What did you expect
Yeah,
him to be like?
actually,
Oh, let me be
good
nice to
point.
the French.
But
Yeah.
the metric system is I don't suppose a single poem has ever been written with the word kilometers or centimeters in it, whereas words like miles, it just trips off the tongue, and it fits into the cadences of a sentence that you can write evocatively using those units. So using in Russian, you could use versts, whatever they had.
Two spans and one.
Whatever those
one
people.
breath.
As long as you keep away from kilometers.
So I did.
Poison.
Actually, that's a really good point that you brought up. I don't want to roll off, go off on a tangent and talk about my book, but I was debating in my mind whether to come up with a new measuring system and stuff like that. The reason why I stuck with meters and centimeters and kilometers is actually because of the reader. I didn't want to have to spend the time to invent a completely new measuring system and then try to work it in through the story and then have the reader not understand what I'm talking about. So a lot of the decisions I made in writing the book, in pulling it back to the present, has to do with the reader.
All right. Well, I can argue that point later, maybe. But going back to
we'll have a debate next time, a duel.
Yeah. Going back to Niki's story, the equivalent doubt I have about it is to do with the sort of bantering, very 21st century flavour of the dialogue. I'm just wondering if perhaps another mode of speech might have been better for something set in the 4th millennium. I know the whole thing is translated anyway, so it's like writing historical novels. You can write about ancient Rome and write about the Romans saying things like, "Oh, blimey, flipping heck,"
flipping heck.
And it's translated from whatever the Latin for those terms is. I know all that, but it's still a matter of tone, and I think that it's risky to have the wrong tone. It's just a minor point, but you could clear it up with other stories. You could redress the balance by more Delegators stories, but in a different tone, just to show the variety in the system allows.
Thank you. That's a really good point. I agree with you completely. It dates the story too in many ways. You know, but you know, it is a risk. It is a risk I took.
Either way, it's a good amount of world building in a very short amount of time. I will say that again.
Yes, for sure. I'd agree. So, what age did you have in mind when you were casting the protagonist, Niki? How old did he seem to you?
The same time when I got fed up with like real world stuff, so like 14, I guess. You know, when
About
you're just
14?
kinda like, yeah.
You know, because it's obvious that Victor counts things, right? He goes, "Oh, you know, the world can be doomed in seconds." That's 58 times that we've been in this situation. Yes. And then in another thing that was, yes, the stupid name that they gave their meeting, which was fabulous, but that was 413 times. So it occurred to me, and I was wondering now, because you're right, I was thinking about a 13, 14-year-old as well. But I was wondering whether it was a 13, 14-year-old as we see it right now, or whether it was actually somebody who was hundreds of years old. But because of the great lifespan by then that humanity had achieved in the fourth millennium, where, you know, it resulted in the fact that even though they were, say, 250 years old, it was out of a 10,000 year lifespan. So therefore, they acted like a 14-year-old, right? Because if you're 200 and your lifespan is 10,000 years, then, you know, you're going to act like a kid. So I was wondering whether that had, you know, tied in with your thinking.
Funny that you mentioned that. There's 4 jokes that I cut, and 2 of them were age jokes. So one of them was like, you know, when Victor drinks the Captain Fix, the great fizzy drink for the future. I was gonna say that it like goes all over his beard, and he's like, "Oh, I need to shave," right? And that would have been interesting if somebody is already thinking towards your direction. But I thought I didn't really have the time to set up the idea that we have this age joke. And there was another joke that was about age, and it was how Victor would look super ridiculous because he's like crying and doing all this stuff in the middle of them, and then I would switch the directive, and like they looked at me all weirdly, like a grown man was crying in front of them or something like that, right? But again, I think those 2 instances, they were how is it in English? I guess between to make a story through where you would just get through the joke that he is much older than he seems. But yeah, so the overall point is it's dangerous when children have you know, weapons that they shouldn't, and the was a protagonist in this funny story to be a kid is because they more or less see it less like a great tragedy, which it really is, right? Like this union is just a planet disappeared, who cares, right? It's a very dark thing, and I thought the only way to bring humor to it is make it go through a child's eye. But really, the commentary is Union are children. They're treating this space like toys, right? And of course, you can have delegators who take their job seriously. Might take a more like they are actually trying to solve something while putting in some humor in there as well. But currently, the joke is they shouldn't have any of this power, and the fact that they do is well, you see it in the story, don't you?
Yeah, that's what I was saying. It's macabre in a way.
Yeah, it's very dark in places. Like, you know, there's the talk about the cat people. There is the there's the entire thing where basically at the end when discussing the destruction of the planet right in front of them, they just, you know, it's like, what's the lesson? You know, what was I supposed to learn from this assignment? You know, I'm not really thinking about the hundreds of thousands of people who just disappeared. This is normal for me. I've done this 100,000 times, right?
Right. right. There's that real sense of self-centeredness. Yes, around humans, because I think they're starting to look at it as, ants would, they sort of think of these other species as being like ants. So they live, they die. Oh, I'm sure you'll be able to figure it out all on your own, knowing full well. Yeah, knowing full well that they're not going to. But, okay, look, I've got to get some lunch. Okay, catch you later. And then boom, both of them are out of there. Yeah, exactly. And I sort of thought, oh dear. But yes. So actually, the more that we talk about it, the more that I'm coming to Rob's point of view. It is a kind of a black sense of humor that that is pervading this story.
Yeah, that's just Niki, right?
I've never written a comedic story before, so the reason, I was one of the propagators of this challenge, and I believe we should do more of it. But in essence, to me, when one of our viewers will do it, some of them have never written a story. This challenge. And if it's so, then I wanted to make it as close as possible to me never doing something before, and I've never done comedy as a genre, really. I mean, I've written like funny poems, but I mean, every 12-year-old writes funny poems, right? Yeah, I wanted it to be an experience I have not done before, something. When it comes to writing, that I don't think I'm that well versed in, and the fact that you guys enjoyed it is honestly, I was ready to be like ridiculed by how everything is unfunny, and but yeah, says Rob.
It's not that it's unfunny; it's that the funniness is daunting in a way. It's frightening. It reminds me of a Barrington Bay novel. I forget which of his novels it is, but in that novel, adults are completely unconcerned about running the universe. They've gone on to higher spheres of thought, and they've got other things to do. So the only people driving starships around and doing things like that are small children, sort of 10-year-olds, that sort of thing. And the result is rather frightening.
Which book was that? I thought I've read most of Ian M. Banks' book.
No, Barrington Bailey.
Barrington Bailey.
Hang on.
Obviously, I missed something out.
Yeah, he's one of the best SF writers, I think, but not given his due.
Yes, I completely agree with that. Anyway, so Niki, can you tell us more about your approach to writing this short story?
How just the process, or?
Yeah, I mean, you told us why you decided on a humorous angle, some black humor. What about the rest of it? He's frozen.
Bad connection. Oh, and he's dropped. Yes, bad connection.
He was so intimidated by my question that he had to.
I had to have a small cry, but I've recovered.
I'll pour myself a drink while I pretend he's still frozen. Yeah. Okay.
First of all, when I sat down, I thought to myself, what is my goal? Do I want to laugh, or do I want the reader to laugh? And I've realized that I don't know who will read this. I mean, I know you guys will read it, but if I'm doing this for real, if this is a real short story, I don't know who will ever have their hands on it. So instead of trying to make them laugh, whatever the audience may be, I decided I want to laugh, because at least I will have my little chuckle if everybody else doesn't like it. So that was the first step, right? I kind of measured it by that association, making sure that I could create something which would be funny for me. And then the next step was basically I wanted to make sure that I'm not committed to a single joke, so that there wasn't one big joke, or that there's just this one reoccurring So as soon as I felt like the number one started to be like not funny to me anymore, I stopped it, right? And I I think I'm glad I did, because I had more zeros and O's and ones and whatever to put in there for comedic effect, but I just honestly I was like in this kid's mind. He's not paying attention to numbers anymore. He's seeing something really exciting, because he doesn't get to see battles, right, during his negotiations. That's for another division of the union, probably, who get to see fights all the time. But the delegators, no, they they usually just sit at a table. So of course he stops counting. Then there was the whole point of, I also wanted. Am I frozen? Can you
Yes.
hear me, guys?
Yeah,
Yes.
I can hear you, but you're frozen.
All right, I've recovered. I'm finally here. What's going on with my internet? I don't know.
The curse of Cthulhu lingers.
It's yeah, it's come to me. The the next sort of thing on the docket, I also wanted to put little smidges of wonder into the story. So while it may not seem like to some, for me the idea that you could just put something in front of you and for a few seconds you see it and now it's done, like you've seen the entire movie, like that's crazy. It sounds like an amazing invention. But I also thought, well, people would start getting tired of it, right? They would start feeling like, yeah, but I could just watch it fully and enjoy it that way, whatever that means, right? With my Coke and popcorn, if that's what they enjoy, or having laughs with other people. Because if you're watching something on your own and it only lasts a second, I mean, I guess you can discuss the movie afterwards, but you lose the whole experience. So I although it was this wonderful invention, it also sort of like this. And thirdly, because I thought when I saw the blurb that the premise was ridiculous, right? To me, I was like, I have 2,500. You want me to talk about a great power struggle between magic and science in 2,500 words, and they have to resolve the fact that the moon is falling. It's a bit, it's something. So because of that, instead of it being something seriously taken, which I just couldn't, I couldn't imagine in like 6 pages. I thought it's a funny situation, I guess. Instead of yes, go on.
So this one, it may have passed me by already, chaps, but did you have a word count already worked out for this? Was there a stated word count?
Yes.
All right, okay. Because actually it was going to be my question, which was, when you guys sit down and you write a short story, do you ever think about, right, this is the short story I'm going to write, this is what it's going to be about, I'm going to fit it into so many words? Do any of you go through that?
I don't
yeah, go
write
on.
short. I don't write short stories. But, if I did, that actually would absolutely be the approach that I take. The reason is because, so my background is I'm a visual effects artist, and having constraints actually helps a lot in being very clear with what you're doing. So like when I say constraint, meaning the amount of time you're taking. Like if I'm painting within like 30 minutes, then it's going to be very different than if I take several hours or days to do it. And if I only have like 30 minutes to push out a painting, then I have to only focus on what's important. Everything else I have to invent some way to just like, oh, it's kind of there, but with just a few brushstrokes. And limits is I would say is a very important tool for a creative person to get inventive about
It's discipline as well, isn't it, XJ? I mean, it's
Yeah.
all also, yeah, it's also about it's being trying to be innovative, but also a sense of discipline about it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
So, so
and we can see the same process happening with Nikki when he is talking about it. Like he just
mm,
drops all the unimportant stuff, and he looks like
right.
he's
Yeah.
frozen or sleeping.
No, I'm not. I'm not sleeping. I'm not frozen. I'm just playing the.
Meditating is
Yeah. Meditating. Yeah.
what we say when we're kids and students. Yeah. Anyway,
Mm.
so that would be the approach I would take,
Mm,
because it would just like I would just drop all the fluff, not get distracted, and just push through the most important stuff. But
mhm.
you had something you wanted to say, Cass?
Oh, actually, no, I was going to ask the other two because I saw Rob shake his head. Yeah. So when you sit and you're not,
Yeah.
Rob.
I was just shaking my head in sort of to myself, really, because I don't think there would have been much of a problem in writing the story in a different way. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with how Niki wrote it, but if I'd been writing it, I wouldn't have thought it was an enormous problem. You would just have to fix upon the pivotal scene of it would actually have been, if I'd been writing it, that there would have been something important in common with the way Niki did it, and that is there would have been a gathering of people like at the climax of the story, and there would have been some discussion. The background would have been different, and the rationale would have been different, but the staging, as it were, would have been very similar. And I think that's a result of the instruction given at the beginning of this, that there's really only, in a sense, there's only, in the staging sense, there's only one way to do it, and that's quite obvious. And it's the way Niki did it, and it's the way I would have done it. Although, as I say, the background ideas would have been completely different.
So I'm shaking my head now, because there are other ways to do it. And but actually, before I give my idea, how about Cass? How would you have staged it?
Oh, good grief. Well, first of
Well,
all,
don't take my funny idea. All right, get your
I
own.
no, it wouldn't. I wouldn't have done a funny idea. First of all, as I normally do when I sit down and I think of a story, I, with homage to Harry Harrison, sit and pour myself a glass of Syrian panther sweat, and then I think about how I would tackle this. I probably would not have done it as a comedy. I think I would have done it as as more of a drama. But unlike Rob, I don't think I would have done it with groups of people. I think that what I would have done was focus just on one, maybe even two people, and leave it at that. Yes. And especially since it was 2,500 words, I would have tried to. I know we're talking about paring down, but for me, I would have tried to pare it down to the effect that it was just, two people, maybe max, and then just tackle it from there as something that is serious and, of course, ultimately tragic. I would have had a downer ending to it.
Mm.
But those two people would have represented a lot, wouldn't they?
Yes. Well, yes.
Them, but yeah.
For sure. But yeah, so it it would have been, yes, Niki, in that respect, it would have been the same kind of ending, right? It would not have been a happy ending. Yeah. Okay.
Victor
So.
gets to watch.
Yeah, I'm
well,
gonna have to
that's
argue. I'm gonna have to argue that in Niki's story, it was a happy ending.
for the delegators,
yeah.
definitely.
Oh, for the
They had it.
delegators, yes, exactly. But for the planet,
Who cares?
Planet
it
Schmana.
could have gone either way. Let's believe. No, I would have had it as,
Schmana, whatever.
yeah.
Whatever, man.
Yeah.
I'm about Victor's side right over here. When it comes to the question you proposed, Kaz, this is a bit of a tangent. But when I was a child, what would used to happen is I would write, and then I'd want people to read, right? So I would give it to my friends and stuff. I would have it so that they would sit down and what they thought. I did this to teachers. Bless you all English teachers, because you had to read my stuff because it was your job. But everybody else, they did it of their own free will. And I noticed that the more punchy and the shorter the story, the more people would actually get through all of it. And so I set up this system as a kid, which was one page stories, and that's exactly how I do it. I would have a beginning, have an end. Those are the first paragraphs and the last paragraph, so to speak, thought about, and then I would fill that in. And to me, it was very important that it was on one page, right? Sometimes I would make the font smaller because I'm from the generation that used computers to write some of their stuff, and as my handwriting is, my mother thought I was going to be a doctor. Let's just put it that way. And
I understand.
And I have really, really bad writing hand when it comes to stuff created on a page. So thank God for computers or typewriters. Easier to sort of like qualify that. And then it kind of just stuck, and it's a discipline I think about when I'm writing a chapter. It's a thing that I'm thinking about when I'm structuring a story. So, for example, my recent project is a book that I'm co-authoring with XJ, and one of the things we did was we basically planned out what happens in each chapter.
Ah, right. So hold on a sec. Okay, tangent. So you're a planner. XJ, you're a planner. Rob, are you a planner or a pantster?
A whatter?
A pantster. You're either plan or you write by the seat of your pants. Yeah.
The way
I'm
George,
a planner, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, the way George R. Martin described it is: are you a gardener or are you an architect? I don't know.
Which is which?
No, I don't know. Exactly. Which is which? Because both of them plan.
A gardener doesn't.
I'm a gardener. I plan. Oh.
No, Kaz, you don't. You're a gardener and you don't plan.
Okay,
darling,
whatever.
I plan.
I thought
yes.
It totally makes sense to me, actually.
Oh, okay. Well, you haven't done much gardening then.
That's
darling.
also
but
true.
Anyway,
well, actually, that's
Rob.
not true. Everything I grow dies. So my gardens don't have a very long time for me to plan.
Oh, I'm sad. Sorry to hear that. Yeah.
I have a black thumb, not a green one.
Yeah. Yeah. So Rob, yes, pantster, planner.
Planner, but on the other hand, sometimes it's like a battle because they say, no military plan survives the first
contact with the enemy.
So I'm actually not fully a planner. I'm more of a middle of the ground.
Hybrid.
I'm more of a middle of the ground. I have guardrails where I want the story to go, but sometimes I also let the characters do their own thing. And because what I found writing my book and co-authoring with Niki is that as a story gets longer, it's incredibly difficult to predict how the story is going to go. Because things change. And the later we are in the story, the further we go into the story, the less relevant that initial plan turned out to be. And in my own story, it's the same thing. I also had like a huge outline what's going to happen in this chapter, where they're going to go, and what the relationship between all the characters and stuff like that. And past chapter 3, none of it turned out useful.
Well, the thing is, a plan for me is a plan of the effects that are going to happen and to do with the reason for reading the story, the effects and the moods and all that. But as to how those effects are going to be brought about, it's very much seat of the pants stuff.
I mean, nobody totally plans every single word. I don't believe, right? That's not really possible. I don't think anyone has the power to just be like, I know exactly what I'm writing, and I'm not changing a single word
Kaz
or a
wants
single.
to
Well,
disagree.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say because right now, and I've fallen off the wagon, and thanks to you, gentlemen, I'm going to get back on it again, because I'm writing a space opera series. I've written 3 volumes, so 3 novels out of 6,
Mhm.
right? Um, and I already know how it's going to end. I know what each book is supposed to do. Right. And so what I do is that I sit down, I know how long each book is going to be. I know how many chapters it's going to be. I know how many scenes it's going to be. I know what is going to happen in every scene, right? In every chapter, in every book. And I do that, right? And I do that for every single book that I write. So that is, and I've done that with all of my books. So I know exactly.
That's how a detective story, I suppose, would have to write, because you can't mess around with cause and effect if you're writing something like a detective
Right.
story.
You know, I have never written a detective story, Rob.
Nor have I. I think I'd rather shoot myself than try and write a detective story.
You're giving Niki ideas, Rob.
How dare you? First of all, second of all,
too difficult.
Well, you see, maybe, like with Niki, right? You do something that you've never done before, at least once, just to grow from the experience. So maybe you should try a detective short story, 2,500 words. What do you say, gents? Yeah, we should give Rob a.
I am
Definitely.
going to sit
Yeah,
out of this.
I mean,
Come on,
XJ and Rob will suffer.
Be
There
brave.
will be reckoning. There is you don't know who you're dealing with, all right?
Yes, okay, could be, yes.
They will suffer their retribution, and if he'd rather shoot himself, he's doing a detective story. It sounds like.
I didn't say what I'll shoot myself with, though, did I?
What? All right. This is a Christian podcast.
Yeah, this is like the Monty Python, with the banana.
Oh no.
With segments of orange, peeled or unpeeled. Yeah.
All right. I mean, I'm 12 years old, so my favorite Monty Python joke is the name of the Rome. What's it called? Centurion.
Biggest
Dickest.
What is so funny, Centurion?
So...
I liked the lesson. I like this. That was a third case nominative boy, and then they go through, and Romans go home, and that's my favorite. Monty Python was the Latin lesson. So funny.
Good stuff. Yeah, great, great humor. Unlike the story. Okay. There is something that happened in the beginning, right? I guess maybe that would be also useful. Obviously, although I thought the idea was ridiculous, and I set up. Whether or not it was, right, it's not up to me, honestly, whether it's ridiculous or not. But my notion was, I found the whole thing farcical. I still tried to work in more of a comfort zone before I decided to, like maybe it's better if I write something that I've never written before. And then I had the idea of having the story to be still about Victor Venn, but he's sort of this person who's combining hands, and he's in the middle of this battle, trying to stop the end of the world. Right. This is the last chapter in like a three-part series or something. Right. Indiana Jones begins or something, right? Like where he's at the end of his last adventure, and we get to see something crazy. So that was one of the ideas when I was thinking of taking it a bit more seriously, because action adventures, is also something I didn't do that much, but I have done before. And then one of my more strange ideas that didn't really go anywhere was that it's like a wedding. right? So that was another humorous idea that I had, which was, so there's this magic and the science side, and they're there, and I don't really want to be there, and it's really awkward conversations, and it's a tough slog, but they're all there because, look, if we marry these two off, the moon will stop falling. So I guess we'll just right. So that was one other, but I just didn't think I had the 2,500 words in me about that.
Yeah, I think you're right. Okay, so for Rob, it's a detective story, right? And for you, it was humor. For XJ, what haven't you tackled that's kind of, akin to science fiction or fantasy or one of those wonderful genres?
To be honest, I'm very new on the writing scene. I've only started writing when I wrote my book, when I started writing my book. So pretty much everything is new to me.
But which one kind of sort of at the moment, if you're sort of thinking is not in your comfort zone? There has to be something that sort of springs up and you go, yes, actually, I've got to do that because that's not in my comfort zone.
Yeah,
Anything in particular?
I think initially, I really have very little interest writing drama. Like,
Okay, so straight drama.
I'm not really that interested in the emotional maelstrom, so to speak, of the characters involved and their relationship with each other. However, I recognize that it's important for readers to feel attached to the characters, so I made myself do that in my book anyway.
There's plenty of emotion in your book, though, XJ.
It didn't happen in the first 3 chapters. It only started happening in the 4th chapter onwards, when I was thinking to myself, I need to make the characters more relatable. This can't just be a nature documentary like David Attenborough, which was my original concept. And so I made myself write some drama. It's not fantastic, I don't think. But I just I did enough, I felt, to make the story and the cast more interesting.
Yeah, I think the main problem with your book is the kilometers. If you can just get rid of those.
Yeah, right.
He doesn't stop. He's
actually
he's a locomotive.
Actually,
He's a relentless machine.
I think a very big challenge for me would be to invent a completely new way of the characters talking to each other. I realize this is not exactly the
genre,
the question that you're driving at, which is genre, Kaz. But I had an opportunity when writing my book to invent a completely new way that the species and the just the timeline itself offered, like the way they talk to each other. And instead I sort of ended up like a modern dialogue style, if I'm clear. I don't know if I'm clear.
Yeah.
And part of the reason is it's just very, very difficult in my mind to keep that lingo consistent.
Yeah.
So I could probably manage it for like a chapter, but past that, if I had to write longer into books, I would find it very, very challenging. Yeah.
Do you mean you invent your own idioms for that are peculiar to your?
Well, I mean, so just imagine how the British talk to each other, right? Blimey, do you have that brolly? I'm just like pretending, like just like giving an example. Like the way British talk is very different from the way Russians talk, and which is very different from the way that the French talk, and it's not just the accent. So that culture is very hard for me to keep consistent. Yeah, because it's more of a feel. It's more of a feel for me than it is. Yeah.
Can I just mention here? I think there's a problem there, and you're right. But I think Jack Vance,
Jack Vance
has solved that problem.
We should have a bingo card, Jack Vance.
Jack Vance, the author, he's written loads of stories set tens of thousands of years into the future, and his characters talk in such a way that you can believe that there are no big issues. The ways in which they talk raise no big issues about this is incongruous. Yeah, they just talk in a, I don't know how to describe it. And Kaz, you've read.
I've read Vance's. I think I don't know how it's pronounced. I've always pronounced it Kugel Saga. Yeah, from Jack Vance.
Oh, Cudgel Saga.
Cudgel Saga. Okay, yeah. Right. Yes, and I know exactly what you're saying. But back when XJ was talking, I was reminded of the Fearsome Engine by Ian M. Banks, for example. Right. Oh, okay. And the fact that, I mean, for Vance he was basically writing in English, whereas if you look at some sections of Fearsome Engine, who knows what language Banks was? I mean, I know what language Banks was going for like phonetics, deep Scottish accent, right? But even he, I don't think, could keep it up for very long because he only had it in snippets, and then it sort of reverted back to normal English. Yes. So I get what XJ says about it being very difficult. But yes, Vance was somebody who really managed to give, I hated his characters, but he did manage to give a very good impression of somebody who you could comprehend and yet you couldn't comprehend. Yes, because it was so far in the future and it was a completely different culture, right? It was a completely different way at things. Yes, so I can see what Rob is getting at with that. So yes, as much as I dislike his characters, he was a very good writer.
All right.
Well, you're not meant to like Cudgel.
Yeah. Yes.
He's a rogue.
Yeah, and not a nice. I mean, usually when you use the word, "Oh, he's a rogue," there is something you're supposed to have that edge of attraction around it. You're supposed to have that rakish charm or whatever. But there was nothing. There was nothing like that in Vance's books. But as I said, that doesn't detract from the fact that he is. Is he still alive?
No, he died a few years ago.
Oh, right. Okay, he was a writer of great skill. Yeah.
Yes. Well, we're coming up to an hour, and this is
wow.
Yeah, right? Time flies. Conversation is great when the conversation is great. So what do we want to roll off onto the next challenge? So what are the terms of the challenge? 3 weeks to write a short story, 2,500 words?
3 weeks to 1,500 words. Get a blurb from the rest of the team. That's like, let's say it now. It's a single. That should be simple, and open ended.
So to help Kaz get rolling onto her book, I nominate Kaz.
How did I know? That wasn't predictable at all.
Yes. The sarcasm was so strong that it just shot through me. Oh, ouch.
Sure thing, because I am getting back into it. I've actually started another short story.
Great to hear.
So sort of getting my writing muscles limbered up before I return to my space opera series.
Cool. Unless Rob, you want to take up the challenge, maybe Kaz can have a go.
Well, I can do one after Kaz has done hers, maybe.
Line them up.
You get ready for your detective story.
Yes, that's right. We're going to give you a detective story.
You're smiling now.
It's only 2,500 words, Rob. You can do it. Push through. Push through.
Just have one mystery, just a little. Like, who lost the keys? That's gonna be the story. Who lost the keys in the house?
Rob.
Who lost the keys to the spaceship? Have you noticed there are never any keys in a spaceship? Have you noticed that? Suddenly all of these doors either slide, whoosh, or dilate open, right? To use Robert Heinlein. Yes, but no one has any keys, damn it.
There are probably some ignition keys, I should think.
Oh.
Yeah, who knows?
Cool.
Their heads.
All right. It looks like your fate is sealed, Rob.
Right.
Well, so basically, next week we will announce the blurb like we did with me, and then you'll have 3 weeks, basically, Kaz.
Oh, okie dokie.
Okay.
We're going to sit down and think.
So I guess we have come to the end of this amazing. I thoroughly enjoyed this conversation, you guys.
Any last thoughts on the Delegators before we stop the...
Your dialogue tags. Your dialogue tags need work. There you go.
He's frozen. It was such a big blow.
Yeah, that's right. Again, it was a zinger straight through his heart, XJ. Yeah, it really was. Yeah.
You mean
elaborate?
right.
I would like some elaboration.
Oh, because it's just that with the dialogue tags, there's certain punctuation that has to be used with dialogue. Yeah.
Show me.
Yeah,
when
yeah, and Rob, yeah, I can see Rob nodding. Yeah, so he knows what I'm talking about.
Well, I did get confused in one or two places, but I thought it was just because I was thick.
Well,
yeah,
but maybe there are other reasons as well.
Yeah, no, it's because there are most people use a lot of commas. Yes, so what you can do is that you can use commas that other people should have edited out, and they can, like carbon credits, they can give their commas to you, and you can put them in your dialogue tag.
Thank you.
Mm.
You know me, I don't use commas when I speak, so.
Sure, neither do I.
Well, you don't make any mistakes as far as I can tell when you speak, but your written English is less correct than your spoken English. I don't know why that should be the case.
Well, I mean, it's very contextual, isn't it? Because we can normally see you or hear you, so we kind of have a sense of who you are. But the problem is that when you have a stranger who's only reading your written words, you've got to lead them on a little bit. You really do, because they don't know you. They don't know you as a person. So they don't know how you think. So you've got to dumb it down a little bit for them. So they, so you can just kind of pull them along the way that you want them to go.
Let's just in, all readers are dumb.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The statement we wanted to
So, I think...
Yes, that's right.
I have, I've been reading quite a lot of writing by Eastern Europeans lately. And I think it is actually part of their writing style that way. You kind of have to make a leap in your mind what they're trying to say. I
think that's right. I think that is right. Yes.
I feel as if because all the Eastern European literature I've read, ranging from games to books to stuff, and then all this collaboration with Niki, I think is a very Eastern European thing. You have to make that leap. The one part of the paragraph might not link exactly to the next.
Yeah, I'll go. Okay. Yes, I'll accept that. Yeah. Because I do have some anthologies of Soviet science fiction, as well as a couple of Strugatsky novels. So yes, having read through them, I think you're onto something there, XJ. Yeah.
All right. Does anyone else have last words?
Yeah, I'd like to finish with a Russian proverb.
Okay.
Make
it in Russian, please. So nobody understands.
I'll say it in Russian first, and then I'll say it in English. Не стоит прогибаться под изменчивый мир. Пусть лучше он прогнется под нас. And it translates to roughly, let's not try to bend ourselves into out of shape for the constantly changing world. Let it bend for you.
I like that, actually.
Oh, that's beautiful, Niki.
So learn how to read, dumb readers, apparently.
So
Oh, yes,
basically,
okay,
he's
yes.
just saying.
Let's go ahead. Put words in my mouth.
He's
That's right.
basically just flipping Kaz off. Yes, that's right.
Yes, yes. Thank you very much, XJ. Yes, I would consider that to be exactly what he was trying to do. You want me to come back? You want me to come back, young man? Do you or don't you? Right? Yes.
I'm just gonna keep quiet.
This is a terrible incident that I've caused, and I'd like to apologize to Kaz and her family.
Yes.
And all the viewers. It'll never happen again. I'll make sure to be a positive change in this world.
Yes.
Influence, definitely.
Yeah.
Very influential.
Positive agent for change.
Agent of chaos.
Getting really hot here.
All right, that's it. Well, honestly, I'm so glad that all of you read the story and you even somehow enjoyed it. So, hopefully the story will be also in the
We will include it in the description below. Yeah. Just like the titles of the books that Kaz has had written so far. Yeah.
Yeah, and the torrent links to download them.
Okay, cool. The torrent links. Yeah.
Yeah, the torrent links. Yes. Oh, thank you so much. Yes.
Okay, enough.
You could provide a 6-page synopsis of the story just for thick readers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Enough. Thank you, everyone. Have a nice whenever you're listening to this. Have a nice time. Whatever. Okay. Bye.
You're not done. We love you. Mm-hmm.
You try to save it.
Okay. Bye.